Hello everyone, and welcome back to Daily English Voices. I'm Mia, and I'm so glad you're here. If this is your first time listening, this channel is all about practical, friendly lessons that help you listen, speak, and think in English every single day. Today I want to tell you a true story, my story about how I learned to communicate in English without studying grammar rules first. Yes, grammar matters, and yes, you will absorb it along the way, but what unlocked fluency for me was not a book of rules, it was daily contact with living English and the courage to use it. I hope my journey gives you a simple path you can start following today, even while you wash the dishes, walk to work, or make breakfast. When I first began, I did what most learners do. I bought grammar books and highlighters. I underlined rules about tenses and conditionals. I memorized lists and filled in the blanks in exercise after exercise. My notebooks looked beautiful. My head felt heavy. And when I tried to speak, my mind went blank. All those rules that looked so clear on paper turned into a fog the moment I needed them in real life. I thought something was wrong with me. Then I met Mr. Adam, a teacher at a small language meetup, who spoke 3 languages smoothly and comfortably. He told me, grammar is a map, but you learn a city by walking it. Put your feet on the streets of English. He suggested something radical: stop chasing rules and start chasing sounds, stories, voices, and meaning. So I did. I began with short, simple audio, tiny stories, everyday dialogues, even children's podcasts where the speakers were calm and clear. I didn't pause to analyze the grammar. I listened all the way through. Then I listened again. I let my brain notice the music of sentences and the patterns of everyday questions. The first story that stuck with me was about a man trying to bake a cake. He failed, then tried again, and finally succeeded. I found myself repeating his phrases while I cooked. Preheat the oven. Mix gently. Try again. Without planning it, I had learned vocabulary, sentence rhythm, and common structures just by enjoying a story. The language felt like warm air moving through a room, not like a wall I had to climb. At home I put this idea to work with my husband. Every evening we had tiny English moments. I would tell him a small story about my day, the way you might tell a friend what you cooked or who you met. I didn't aim for perfect sentences, I aimed for connection. I told him, today I saw a beautiful orange sky, and later, the birds were singing near the window. In the beginning I made mistakes. I repeated myself. I used the wrong word and then found a better one. But day by day I noticed something gentle happening, my sentences got longer, my pauses got shorter, and people understood me more easily. It felt like learning to ride a bicycle by actually riding it, wobbly at first, steadier with practice. There was one technique that changed everything for me: shadowing. I chose short audio clips with natural, clear voices and repeated immediately after them, almost at the same time. I didn't stop the audio to analyze, I kept my voice moving with the speaker's voice, copying the melody, the stress, the pauses. One evening I shadowed a tiny story about a woman who owned a small bookstore. I love arranging the books by color, she said, and today a customer bought my favorite novel. I repeated it like a song, and suddenly my mouth was practicing English timing, not just English words. After a week of shadowing for 10 minutes a day, my pronunciation felt smoother and my confidence grew, not because my grammar charts were perfect but because my mouth knew the rhythm of real sentences. I also practiced asking questions because questions create conversation. While planning a weekend hike I asked my husband, which route should we take, and how long will it take to reach the top? Those questions were not fancy, but they were real, and they opened the door to real answers. I learned words like route, distance, and trail simply because I needed them. Language grows fastest where life needs it. The same thing happened when I listened to a travel podcast about London. The host gave directions step by step: take bus number 12, go straight, turn left at the big building, and without any grammar explanation I picked up prepositions and sequence words because they mattered to the story. Grammar was there, alive inside the sentences, and my ears caught it without the stress of memorization. Another habit that helped me was describing what I saw. I took a photo of the park, or just looked around my kitchen, and spoke in simple sentences. The trees are bright green. The sun is warm on my face. A small dog is running. These lines are not poetry, they are practical footprints. When you describe what you see, your brain connects English to reality, and that connection is stronger than any rule in a book. Sometimes my husband and I played a mini game. He would say, "The cup is on the table," and I would add, "The table is brown and the cup is full of coffee." One sentence becomes two become three, and before you know it you're speaking paragraphs of natural English. I also discovered the power of retelling. I would listen to a short story and then tell it again in my own words. If the original story said, Tom checked the table, the sofa, and his bag, I might say, Tom looked everywhere on the table, under the sofa, inside his bag. Retelling forces your brain to reorganize ideas and choose words. It's the gym where your fluency muscle grows. Some nights I sent voice messages to a friend I met online, a learner named Anna. She shared her day, and I replied using many of the same words and phrases she used. We were mirrors for each other. Repetition wasn't boring, it was the road to automaticity. Because language lives in emotions, I practiced naming my feelings in English. I said, "I'm nervous about tomorrow's meeting," and "I feel proud of my progress today." I listened to small stories of happiness and surprise and copied those expressions, too. When you can say how you feel, your English becomes yours. It stops being a school subject and starts being your voice. To strengthen that voice, I kept a tiny notebook, just a few words per day. If I heard the phrase, "I'm looking forward to it," I wrote it down and used it when I talked about a weekend plan. Writing was not a test, it was a memory tool, and it turned new phrases into useful friends. One of my favorite exercises is narrating routines. It's simple and powerful. I wake up at 6. I make coffee. I read for 5 minutes. I water the plants. Then you add details. I open the window and feel the morning breeze. Routine language is the skeleton of daily life. Once you can talk through your day, you can add muscles, opinions, reasons, comparisons. I prefer tea in the afternoon because it helps me relax. This market is cheaper than the supermarket. Your sentences get stronger because you're lifting small weights every day. To practice practical English, I role-played tiny scenes. At a cafe I whispered to myself, "I'd like a cup of coffee, please. Do you have oat milk?" At a shop I practiced, "Can I try this one?" and "Do you have a smaller size?" When I needed directions, I rehearsed, "Excuse me, where is the bus stop?" These lines live in the mouth, not in the rulebook. You practice them once, then again, and they're ready when you need them. There's another beautiful habit I want you to try, the 1-minute story. Choose a small moment from your day and speak about it for 60 seconds. Don't worry about mistakes. Focus on moving forward one idea, then the next. This morning I went to the bakery. The baker smiled and asked how I was. I bought fresh bread and some cheese. On my way home I saw a cat sitting on a wall, and the sunlight made the windows sparkle. You're not just practicing vocabulary, you're practicing flow, the gentle movement of thought to thought. That flow is what people feel when they say your English sounds natural. As your listening grows, your inner grammar grows too. You'll start to notice that after yesterday, you naturally choose past forms, and after tomorrow, you use future forms. You'll hear how questions invert, how prepositions settle into place, how articles appear or disappear. The rules are still real, but now they are the shadows of a living body instead of the bones of a skeleton. And if you choose to study a specific rule later, it will snap into place quickly because your ears already know the song. Let me share a few more stories of people who learned this way. My neighbor David loves cooking. He watched English cooking videos every evening just 10 minutes while dinner simmered. He learned words like chop, boil, whisk, and serve without ever opening a grammar book. Then he started telling me his tips in English. His confidence grew because he used language in a kitchen he already loved. Another friend, Sarah, wanted English for work. She listened to recordings of customer service calls and repeated lines like, "How may I help you?" and "Please hold for a moment." After a few weeks she could handle real calls with kindness and clarity. She didn't avoid grammar forever, she just didn't start there. She started with service, rhythm, and purpose. Consistency matters. 5 minutes daily beats one long session once a week. Attach English to existing routines, put a tiny podcast on while you make breakfast, shadow 2 sentences while you brush your hair, retell a story while you walk to the bus. If you commute, turn the bus into a classroom. If you cook, let the kitchen be your conversation lab. If you clean, narrate the steps out loud. First I wash the dishes. Then I wipe the table. Next I sweep the floor. You're not only cleaning, you're shining your fluency. Prediction is another playful tool. Pause a story and guess what happens next. She bought a ticket, maybe she'll miss the bus. When you predict, you practice future language and keep your mind engaged. Summaries are helpful, too. After listening, say the story in 3 lines: who, what, outcome. Emma went to the bakery. She saw a new cake. She tried it and loved it. Short summaries train you to choose essential words. Let's talk about courage. Fluent speech is not the absence of mistakes, it's the presence of momentum. When I stopped treating errors like emergencies and started treating them like footsteps, I moved faster. If my sentence fell apart, I rebuilt it with simple bricks. I don't know that word. I mean, the thing you use to water plants. Communication is problem solving with kindness. People are kinder than you think, and most of them are cheering for you. If you want a simple daily plan, try this. Listen to a short piece of audio once for meaning. Listen again and shadow 2 or 3 sentences. Retell the story in your own words, 30 seconds is enough. Write 1 new phrase in your notebook and use it twice before the day ends. Ask 1 real question to a real person, even if that person is your reflection in the mirror. Then finish with 1 minute of describing what you see around you. That's it. 10 minutes can change the texture of your day. As your confidence grows, start switching styles. Tell the same story in a friendly tone, then in a polite tone, then in an excited tone. "I'm really looking forward to the weekend" sounds different from "I'm available on Saturday afternoon." Playing with style trains your ear and prepares you for different situations: talking to a friend, emailing a colleague, speaking to someone at a service desk. You can also practice small negotiations. Could we start at 10 instead of 9? Would it be possible to get a window seat? These sentences carry polite power. Read aloud, even for 2 minutes. Reading aloud is like taking your voice to the gym. It builds control, breath, and clarity. Choose simple, smooth paragraph stories, articles, even recipes, and let your voice feel each line. Combine that with recording yourself once a week. Don't judge the sound, listen for improvement. Maybe your pace is steadier, maybe your th sounds softer, maybe your pauses are calmer. Growth loves evidence, and recordings give you that. Another lovely practice is describe and decide. Look at a picture and describe 5 details, then decide what you think about it. There's a blue bicycle leaning against a cafe window. The street looks quiet. I think it's early morning. I'd like to sit there with a cup of tea. Description plus opinion turns vocabulary into voice. Do the same with your day. Today was busy, but I'm proud that I finished my tasks. I'll rest and read tonight. Language is not just information, it's reflection. If you study with a partner, try echoing. Your partner says a sentence, and you echo it with one change. I'm cooking rice for lunch. I'm cooking pasta for dinner. This small game teaches flexibility. You can also practice tiny phone calls. Hi, is this the library? What time do you close? Keep them short and real. The more you touch English in real ways, the more it belongs to you. You may wonder, will I ever need grammar? Yes, of course. Grammar is useful, especially when you edit your writing or want to polish your professional emails. But when you start with living English listening, shadowing, retelling, describing, you build an intuitive foundation. Later, a simple explanation of a tense or a preposition rule will strengthen what you already feel. You won't be memorizing alien formulas, you'll be naming patterns your ears already trust. Before we finish, let me leave you with a final story. There was a moment when I realized this approach had truly changed me. I was walking with my husband on a Saturday morning, and without thinking I said, let's visit the market first, then take the path by the river. If it gets too hot, we can stop for iced tea. No stopping to translate, no panic about tenses, just a plan in English, carried by a calm voice. It felt ordinary and extraordinary at the same time. Ordinary because it was just our weekend. Extraordinary because English had become a natural tool, not a test. So here's your invitation. Start small today. Choose a short audio you enjoy. Listen once for the story. Listen again and shadow 2 lines. Retell what you heard in your own words. Describe something around you right now: your desk, the sky, your cup of tea. Ask one question out loud, even if you answer it yourself. Write one phrase in your notebook and promise to use it before you sleep. Do it again tomorrow. And the next day. You do not need to memorize every rule to speak with heart and clarity. You need contact, repetition, curiosity, and the kindness to keep going. This is Daily English Voices, and I'm Mia, cheering for you. Your English is not a test score, it's a bridge to people and places you care about. Keep listening. Keep speaking. Keep telling your small stories. And when you notice that your sentences are smoother, your vocabulary is richer, and your confidence is brighter, smile and say, I did that. Because you did. And you can keep doing it one simple, living sentence at a time.